Most people don't really understand what happens to your body when you actually box. So Bud Crawford is going to have the experience of his lifetime when he goes through this experience that most people who first start boxing experience when they step into that first impact, getting into that class that lights their brain up, and then within the first 90 seconds, they're totally gassed out. Now, what I'm going to explain to you is what actually happens to your body when you box. Why is it that you're so motivated that first 60 seconds, and then immediately when you hit that 90-second mark, there's absolutely no gas in the tire? And that's what happens when fighters go up in level and when you go into a brand new boxing class. You see, the first thing that happens is your body starts to have to wire to every mechanic that you're using. So you're balling up your fists, you're bending your knees, you're placing your feet right where you have the most balance. And then the instructor says go, or you hear the bell ring. What has to happen from that point is you have to measure distance. You have to calculate speed. You have to understand the kind of power you're throwing. And then you have to not miss the target. At the same time, throwing volume, throwing hard, being excited, not being in control of your breathing. The next thing you know, you're totally gassed out. And that, my friend, is what happens when you box. You trigger the sympathetic nervous system. And that equates to when a fighter goes up in weight, fighting against another individual, an opposition that actually has the same level or close to skill set, but they have natural advantages with the weight. And that's when you pull a person into a zone that they have not been in, under those tight lights, in that atmosphere. So you take it back to your instructor yelling, box! And then you go and you forget all of the rules with time and mind management, and you get caught up in that moment. And that moment is bright. And that is when you see the stars that hit what we call the bright lights of boxing. And if you have never experienced this, it's something that you can't really explain, or it's hard to really break it down to a person who's never done boxing. But that equates to the exact same amount of adrenaline that goes through your body when you're trying to just exude all of that energy, all of that compressed anger and rage onto that bag. But when you're in high-level boxing, you're adapting to something that you haven't adapted to. The same level skill coming at you, but with much more weight, much more density. And so that's what's so unique about boxing. You see, that thing that happens to your mind that makes you exhausted is what we call neuroplasticity. And it's the actual act of your brain trying to rewire and find itself something that's normal. See, brains, it looks for patterns, things that it can identify with, just like when you're spelling words and you have to refer back to your ABCs and pronunciations. That's the same protocol that your brain has to actually go through. So when a fighter has confidence in himself to win a fight, it's just like the moment you sign that contract to go into a gym. You know you want to hit that bag, and you think you're going to actually hit it like for hours. But that's not how it happens. There's this other debt that you have to pay, and it's called the neurological system. And before you enter any business with it, you have to pay the piper. And that agreement is what you have to do is hardwire your body, your mind together. So the signals are being sent. So therefore, when you put it in the terms of seeing a boxer, when they box, then that fighter has to create an agreement with his mind. And he can't just say, well, I want to be aware and I actually feel like I can do it. But there's a third thing that you have to sign the contract on. And that, my friend, is what we call mastery. Because there are 3 phases of mastery. 1, cognitive. What made you want to go in there? You saw it. 2 is emotional. When you felt that energy, you felt that anxiety building up, then that's what made you go. Because you felt like you can do it, and what you envision in your mind, you felt like that's exactly what's going to happen when I let go on this bag for an hour straight. I'm just going to rampage this thing. But the agreement is with physical mastery. That's when you can actually do it. And physical mastery is the term that we tie to the 10,000 hour rule. And unless you fought at that class against that level of opposition for that long, my friend, you're just another person going into a boxing fitness class who thinks they're going to perform because it felt like you would. But when you get up under the lights get bright when neuroplasticity kicks in. And that, my friend, is going to be the deciding factor of this fight.